Raiders of the Lost Ark, released in 1981, and is directed by Steven Spielberg, who is behind basically every single influential pop culture hit of all time. And this movie, of course, is starring the legendary Harrison Ford, Paul Freeman, Ronald Lacey, John RHYS-DAVIES, and Demholm Elliott. And the reason why we're talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark today is because, well, recently Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny just came out, but this is my 800th movie review. What the hell? Where did that come from? I have done 800 movie reviews / watch-alongs on this channel. That is insane. I've never done 800 things of anything. Or maybe I have. Wouldn't you like to know? But this is a nice round number, 800, and on these 100th anniversary episodes, I like doing either a legendary movie or maybe something surrounding Batman, just because I'm a huge fan of it. And I thought, with Indiana Jones 5 coming out, I gotta do Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's hailed as one of the best adventure films of all time. And it still holds up today. It's still great. Does Indiana Jones play a part in the story at all? Really? No? And does that affect my watching of this movie this time? Yeah. Indiana Jones is an archaeologist searching for rare and important cultural artifacts to bring back to the States to put it in a museum so that people can look at it and appreciate it. Well, now Army Intelligence is requesting the services of Indiana Jones because they've gotten word that Adolf Hitler is now on the search for rare, religious, and powerful artifacts to help swing the tide in the coming war to his favor. And the next religious artifact they're going after is the legendary Ark that held the 10 Commandments from Moses. Now Indy travels all over the world to find the Lost Ark before the Nazis can get their hands on it. And this is back in that period where Harrison Ford was the big heartthrob. Everyone wanted him in every single movie and in every single franchise. Definitely helps that Harrison Ford is friends with Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, who around this time were kind of making it big on the movie scene, And I don't know what else is there to add about Raiders of the Lost Ark that hasn't been said before in other movie reviews and dissertations and essays and film directors and people involved in the film industry talking about how important a movie like this was to their childhood. So I'm just going to go off of it, of my viewing for this time, because it's been a while since I've watched this movie, but also just reconnecting the nostalgia that I have with this film. And I got a lot of nostalgia. My brother and I, we would watch this movie, we would go out into the backyard and we would play Indiana Jones. We had a little obstacle course that we would set up and we would try to swing across vines and stuff. How many other kids out there did that when they watched this movie? I would assume a lot of them, because that's what young people, that's what kids want. They want adventure. They want someone going outside of their comfort zone and looking for something that has been told to them is unobtainable or that they shouldn't obtain it. And the Lost Ark being brought down from Mount Sinai by Charlton Heston, who would want to touch those things? Let my people go, Pharaoh. And Harrison Ford, I think, defined for an entire generation, several generations, of what male bravado is. You look at him, you go oh, that's a man, right? That's a man's man. I hate that phrase, but that right there is a man's man. He's got the 5 o'clock shadow, the leather jacket, the badass fedora. He has a button-up shirt that he never buttons, the top 3 buttons, so that his chest hair is always showing, and the ladies are just swooning all over him. But watching this movie for this review this time, I never realized how much of a frickin' nerd Indiana Jones is. When he's teaching his class or when he's describing what the Ark is to the Army Intelligence people, he's a frickin' nerd. And he's just geeking out over this stuff. And it's so confusing because I think they try their damnedest to make him out to be an action star, a stereotypical male figure who is all about fists and anger and toughness. But when in all actuality, he fights with his intelligence, he fights with his brain. He stays at home and reads books and reads up on historical artifacts. That is his go-to thing to do in his downtime. He's a frickin' nerd. It made me very happy to realize that this big, just poster boy of male bravado in this country is actually underneath is just a gigantic nerd. It made me feel really good. Like I said before, Harrison Ford, he is this character. I don't see anyone picking this up. I know they did the TV show Young Indiana Jones, which I remember watching when I was a kid, but I definitely can't remember who played him or what the episodes were. But if we're going into the Indiana Jones proper films, there's no one else who can play this guy. And I don't think there's a way that you can pass along the mantle of Indiana Jones, because Indiana Jones is just a person. It's not like he's Superman and he wears this symbol and then he passes that symbol on to the next person in his family. No, this is just Indiana Jones. That's who he is. That's his name. Indiana Jones Jr., I might say. There's only one of them, and there will always be one of them. And I think after this Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny film, I think we need to kind of put this character to rest and move on with another adventure film or archaeologist type character that we can look into a different franchise. I think this franchise needs to be done once Harrison Ford, calls it quits or, unfortunately, eventually leaves this earth. Karen Allen, who plays Marion in this movie, I forgot just how annoying she is, because I'm pretty sure the direction that she got from Steven Spielberg is just do noises. Could you just do like ahs just constantly for every single action scene? Oh, and could you also make them like pleasure sounds too, as if like you're getting some? Do that. That's Karen Allen for you. I do forget how great Paul Freeman's Belloc is. Belloc is a great character and a great foe to Indiana Jones. Belloc has the best timing out of anyone. Indiana Jones always gets there first because he knows more, right? He does all the heavy lifting, he does all the digging, but Belloc, he knows not to exert energy when he doesn't need to. If someone else wants to go out and dig the hole first, absolutely, go ahead. Now that you found the thing, here's my pistol. Now you're gonna give me the thing. That way I'm going to claim it. What white males typically do when it comes to history and finding things and wars and battles and stuff. This was a time when action set pieces were all done practically, so the whole part with the truck chase scene and Indiana Jones going underneath the truck with the whip, it was all real. It was all an actual stunt person. There's footage of Harrison Ford actually stapling a fedora to his head, that way it would stay on, so that in the scenes where the wind is going crazy, the hat would actually stay on, so we can actually get that beautiful silhouette of this character that Steven Spielberg loves to do. Steven Spielberg, he loves silhouettes. He loves putting up a silhouette and to have you, the audience, know who exactly we're talking about. And I'm a sucker for silhouettes, so you're speaking my language, Steven. But how badass is Harrison Ford just stapling that onto his head? It's just badass. So the practical effects, the stunt work is pretty good. There are some fight scenes in here that have not aged well. You can definitely tell they're pulling punches, but, you got the sound effect in there of, like, wood cracking and breaking, so it makes you believe that he's actually punching people. And of course, the beautiful bit where he was supposed to have this huge fight scene with a guy with the sword in the middle of the street, and Harrison Ford was feeling terrible that day. I think he had like food poisoning, and he just said, why don't I just shoot him? I got a gun. It's a beautiful, hilarious moment, and it's one of those problems that you have to overcome and that you fix, and it makes the film that much better when you make that decision, you make that adjustment. I just wish The Big Bang Theory didn't ruin this movie for me, because I saw that clip from that episode where the character said that Indiana Jones is inconsequential to the result and climax of this movie. If Indiana Jones had never gone on this adventure and never dug up the Ark, they would have eventually found it, they would have eventually brought it to that island, opened it up, and they still would have all died, and the Ark would not have been in possession of the Nazis at all. So Indiana Jones played into really nothing. And it's so true. You watch it again, and he creates a lot of problems because it's a movie and we need to have problems. But in the end, what is it for? He still gets captured. They still get the Ark. They still open it up and they still all die. The army gets it, puts it in a crate and puts it in a warehouse somewhere, and they never use it. So it's like this movie didn't really need to happen. And I've criticized other movies that have a plot and a climax like that where it's like, why do we even go through this? So if I'm going to judge them harshly on that, I think I do have to judge this movie a little harshly on that too. Because I went along for this journey for 2 hours, and in the end, it kind of meant nothing. So, a little frustrating. But this is a classic action-adventure film. It's one of those staples in film history that you need to watch. This character of Indiana Jones is fantastic. Harrison Ford is great here. And it's one of those movies that just keeps putting Steven Spielberg on the map of just being one of the best directors of all time. I'm gonna give Raiders of the Lost Ark 4 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I like it a lot.
So guys, have you seen Raiders of the Lost Ark? What did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across it because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so you know the next time I'm releasing next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.